we have here? Another South African budget speech, another round of empty promises, and yet another slap in the face to the hardworking citizens of this country. Despicable. But let's not act surprised here, because I told you they'd drag their feet. I told you they'd keep us waiting, only to announce that we'll be now paying more than 20 rand for white bread. And here we are. Let's start with the delay. They postponed the budget speech, leaving everyone in suspense. Why? To build anticipation. Was this some thriller film? To make us think they were concocting some grand plan to save the economy? Please. It was nothing more than a pathetic attempt to keep you on edge and to deliver the same recycled nonsense they've been spewing at you for years. The value-added tax increase, a 0.5% hike this year, with another 0.5% hike next year, up to 16% by 2026. Really? So instead of cutting down their own inflated salaries or reducing the size of the bloated cabinets they have, they decide to squeeze more money out of the average citizen. It's pathetic. And because of that, I want to talk about South Africa's broken finance sector. It was once a pillar of strength, and now it's a cesspool of corruption and incompetence. The budget was supposed to be a tool for economic growth and stability, but now it's a weapon of oppression used to enslave the very people it was meant to serve, which is you and me. Some people think physical slavery doesn't exist anymore. They believe it's a relic of the past. It was back then, during apartheid and then. You need to wake up. If you're working tirelessly only to have your earnings stripped away by taxes, raising costs, and a failing economy, what do you call that? Freedom? That is modern day slavery sanctioned by your communist government. Your kids are studying their butts off in school, dreaming of a better future. But let's be honest, they're being groomed to be the next servants in line for the richest families in this country. The education system isn't designed to empower them. It's designed to enslave them, to keep them in a cycle where they work endlessly for the benefit of the elite. Now, let's talk about the white bread. Over 20 rand for a loaf of Albany white bread. Hi guys. That is a symbol of just how out of touch the government is with the struggles of everyday South Africans. Because while they dine in luxury, the average citizen cannot even afford the most basic staple. It's pathetic. We're out here being told about economic recovery, stability and growth, all these big words, while kids in the Eastern Cape are still walking barefoot through rivers to go to school. They couldn't afford school shoes to save their lives. They are walking through actual rivers. Yes, rivers. The government bridge collapsed years ago, and the only thing that's been built since then is a speech about why it's not in the budget. But you want to guess what is in the budget? It's not the Eastern Cape kids. It's over 2 billion rand for travel expenses because, government officials couldn't possibly drive normal cars like the rest of us. Millions set aside for luxury renovations in government buildings because, let's face it, the ANC needs their offices looking fresh while the rest of us struggle. Another increase in consultation fees where they pay their buddies millions just to write reports on how poor people are struggling. It's crazy. Meanwhile, a single loaf of bread costs over 15 rand. You'd swear that bread was imported from Paris with gold flakes and with the tears of taxpayers. You've got families already skipping meals, now having half a slice Tuesdays just to stretch a loaf over the week. But don't worry, the government has a plan because they're going to introduce some new committee, hire some new advisors, and hold a conference at a 5-star hotel to discuss solutions over 500 rand per plate meals, because nothing says we care about poor people more than eating filet mignon while talking about worldwide hunger. And let's not forget, school kids in Limpopo are still sharing one textbook per class, while your tax money is being spent on cultural exchange trips for government officials to study education systems in Europe, because apparently the best way to fix a school without toilets in South Africa is to send a politician on a fully paid trip to France. Despicable. Absolutely pathetic. This budget speech thing has now honestly become a scripted farce. A yearly reminder of how disconnected our leaders are from reality in the first place. They stand there delivering empty words with their giant stomachs while the nation suffers. It's nothing short of theatrical cruelty designed to keep you and me, to give you and me false hope while they plunder the nation's wealth. I swear the ANC must have evolved somewhere deep underground, protected by ANC cadres in suits that cost more than your monthly salary. These vaults must be filled with scripted speeches on every occasion. The budget speech, there's a script. For load shedding, there's a script. For the natural disasters that are to come, there's probably scripts that start with, "We are shocked and saddened." But here's the best part. One of those scripts is specifically for the budget speech. And I bet you anything, there is a line in there that reads, "VAT must be increased annually to fulfill our communist desires." I can just imagine some ANC official dusting off the script written in 1994, flipping through the yellowing pages, nodding while sipping their 12-year-old whiskey, saying, yes, here it is. The people will not suffer, but we must raise the taxes." Perfect! Let's go gaslight the nation once again. And I'm sure that script since 1994 has been recycled every year, just with minor adjustments. The words COVID-19 recovery were probably swapped in for post-apartheid transformation in 2020. Before that, economic growth strategy was just another way of saying, "We're still looting and stealing from you citizens, so please be patient." And the VAT increase, I'm sure that part is set in stone in some chamber. It's like they have a built-in algorithm. Step 1, increase VAT. Step 2, blame it on the global markets. Step 3, promise relief to the poor and the elderly. Step 4, announce a multi-billion rand corruption scandal a few months later. Step 5, get a predator into parliament like Kenny Kunene. I bet if you sneak into that vault, there's a script for every single future budget speech. You could flip to 2040 and it's gonna say, "The people must tighten their belts. But fear not, we are committed to transformation. By the way, VAT is now 35%. I'm sure it's all pre-planned, all scripted, a scam. Every year, we act surprised, as if they might actually do something different. It's pathetic. The government of national unity is the head of this all. They are the masterclass in deception, because they present themselves as saviors, but in reality, they are the architects of our misery. They use the budget as a tool to tighten the chains around our necks, all while smiling and telling us it's for our own good. Are you kidding me? We pride ourselves on being a democratic nation. But what good is democracy when the choices are between different shades of oppression? That's like Mount Rushmore with 4 different face expressions. Are you kidding me? We're left to deal with the consequences of their pathetic attempts to try and exploit us all. It's all a charade. It's not democracy. The media plays a part too, acting as the government's mouthpiece, selling us the narrative that these measures are necessary. They downplay the suffering of the masses and focus on the political theater, keeping us distracted from the real issues. You ever wondered what bed Kenny Kunene sleeps on? Well, here's what it is. So what do? Do we sit back and accept this? Absolutely not. It's time to wake up and challenge the status quo and demand accountability. You need to educate yourself, you need to support each other, and you must fight for a system that serves the people, not the elite. There is strength in numbers. And if there's anyone that knows that, it's a South African. Mob justice. You can bring that change. The government fears a united populace because they know that together we all have the power to dismantle their oppressive systems. You want to know how? Fuck nobody. The budget speech is more than just numbers on a page. It's a reflection of the values and priorities of our leaders. And right now, the priorities are misaligned with the needs of the people. It's time to stand up. It's time to speak out. It's time to take back your country from those who seek to enslave you. It's pathetic. They'll tell you the economy is growing, that things are getting better. But let's look at reality. The so-called growth is artificial. It's built on debt and so much manipulated statistics, you think Bray Wyatt made it. The average South African isn't seeing this growth in their daily lives. Instead, they are facing higher prices, stagnant wages, and diminishing opportunities. It's crazy. The government's solution is to every problem is to borrow more money. Is that a government you want to lead your nation? That's not just irresponsible, it's criminal. They're enslaving future generations with debt, ensuring that your children and grandchildren will be paying for their mistakes. This is economic enslavement, plain and simple. The VAT increase is just the tip of the iceberg. The middle class is being squeezed from all sides with income taxes, property taxes, hidden fees, you name it. This isn't just about funding public services. It's about extracting as much as possible from the people to fund their own lavish lifestyles. They'll point to infrastructure projects as signs of progress, but these projects are often overpriced, poorly executed, and serve as vehicles for corruption. the roads crumble, the power cuts continue, and the water isn't even safe to drink. Yet they expect us to believe that things are improving. High unemployment isn't a failure of policy, it's a deliberate strategy. Keeping a large portion of the population unemployed or underpaid ensures that the masses remain desperate, dependent, and easily controlled. When people are struggling just to put food on the table, they don't have the time to question authority, demand better governments, or even fight back against corruption. Simple common sense. A starving man doesn't need to start a revolution. He just prays for one more meal. And that's exactly how the system wants it. It's genius if you actually think about it. They dangle false hope in the form of minimum wage jobs, useless skill programs, and empty promises about economic growth. Meanwhile, big corporations, owned by the same elite families who fund political parties, rake in billions while paying workers just enough to survive, but never enough to escape the rat race. And when the people finally wake up and start demanding more, boom! Suddenly there's another crisis, another distraction, another excuse for why things just can't improve right now. It's the most evil mindset you could ever think of. Because this is not just a failure of policy, it's modern day economic slavery done for you and me. And you happen to be in the midst of it. Despicable. But hey, who am I kidding, right? I could yap all I want. I'm just a YouTuber in the end, right? I'm just a bitter old YouTuber, right? As long as you have electricity for a few hours a day and have enough money to go and groove all water under the bridge, right? You don't have to listen to me. Just like how we rejected Starlink and nobody listened to me and called me a white guy. No big deal, right? Just like how you called me a racist when I said Donald Trump saved our almost communist turning South Africa, right? It's just me. I'm just a coconut and you don't have to listen to me.